Greetings, all! Today, we'll be examining the members of the legendary Guardian Land Spirits, including the Electric Fairy-type Pokemon Tapu Koko, the Psychic Fairy-type Pokemon Tapu Lele, the Grass Fairy-type Pokemon Tapu Bulu, and the Water Fairy-type Pokemon Tapu Fini, the four collectively known as the Land Spirit Pokémon. Revered in legend by the inhabitants of the Alola region, the members of the legendary Guardian Land Spirits are powerful creatures whose mystical might more than makes them a terrifying force to face one-on-one.
Tapu Koko has a black main body with the lower half consisting of a brown four-pronged fleshy structure, with the prong on the back being larger than the other three, as well as yellowish-green organic rings around its shoulders, a series of white markings on its chest and face, yellow, green, and white eyebrows with neon-colored eyes, and a large mohawk of orange fur with yellow accents towards the top. Its arms are attached to a pair of symmetric woody shells with a black connecting point and barbed half-beak, as well as eye flares and white markings on the sides that, when brought together over the beast's body, forms the appearance of a bird-like face to observers. Tapu Lele has a black main body with small black digiless hands on its thin arms, which have pink bands of organic material around its wrists, as well as a small white band across its chest, pink eyebrows and white under-eye markings with neon-colored eyes, further being adorned with a head of thick pink hair that curls at the ends, with two longer curls extending farther down than its torso. The creature's head is adorned with a large cap with white markings that, when lowered down onto the pink, large woody vessel its body is attached to, with white and red accent markings and a bulbous back end, forms a sort of stylized chrysalis. Tapu Bulu has a black main body with a pair of thick arms with red organic rings at the shoulders that end in a pair of golden metal hooves, further possessing a lower tail that ends with a large gilded bell, its chest and face adorned with a series of white face markings, red streaks beneath its neon-colored eyes, and a yellow protuberance on its face from which a white ring hangs. The top of its head has a pair of curved horns with yellow ends and black tips, as well as a set of red woody extensions at the base with yellow and white pattern markings that, when brought together over its body, forms what looks to be the head of a bull. Lastly, Tapu Fini has a black main body with a tapered figure, a white V-shaped crest visible on its chest, with two large purple organic rings around its shoulders that lead to its webbed three-fingered hands with purple claws, further possessing a pair of light blue fin-like markings just above its neon-colored eyes and below a white head marking, with a flowing mane of light blue hair that flows all the way down to its lower body before spreading outwards. Its lower body with a light blue fin, as well as its head, are attached to a pair of purple woody structures, the upper section having a long beak-like extension at the front with a light blue and purple rimmed extension, complete with white and light blue markings, and when brought together, they seem to form the shape of a dolphin's head.
The Guardian Land Spirits of the Alola region are powerful fairy-type creatures that have existed in the islands for as long as recorded human history goes back. And while they are very much respected and revered by the people of the Alola region, it should also be noted that their history with the humans of this region is not exactly all that terrific.
It is true that in ancient times, these creatures helped to protect the inhabitants of the Alola region from the threat of the Ultra Beasts, but even with all their power, they are unable to overcome the might of Solgaleo and Lunala. It is lucky that these beasts proved to be more benevolent than the rest of the Ultra Beasts the land spirits had fought against. Despite this, these creatures once actively safeguarded the islands from attacks by foreigners from far-off lands, and worked to ensure the harmony of nature with humans as much as possible. It is thought that the traditional worship of these creatures started sometime before the first arrival of the Ultra Beasts, and was done so because of the terrible power of these creatures wrought, with humans using worship as a way of appeasing them so they would leave human civilization to develop in peace without constant interference on their part. While that has remained the same for many centuries, these legendary creatures are unfortunately quite capricious and will still occasionally make themselves a nuisance to others in order to assert their dominance and remind everyone why they are worth worshipping. These creatures do not work out of complete malice, but an uncaring attitude towards the safety and well-being of most, though they are still honored as they have come through in times of crisis again and again, and even though they can be dangerous, they are not hateful of humanity outright.
However, the progressing decline of overall worship and respect held towards them has tried their patience, and all but Tapu Koko have seemingly abandoned contact with humans entirely, instead roaming their islands as they see fit in secret and only appearing at their shrine when others show up that might actually give them a good fight.
The only exception to this seems to be the threat of invasion from Ultra Beasts, as the outpouring of these beasts during the events of the Ultra Crisis was enough to rouse the land spirits into fighting alongside the island kahunas to protect the islands, just as they did in ancient times. Although the powers of these creatures differ from one another, there are 3 things they do have in common. First of all, while they all have their own distinct base abilities, it is noted that these creatures all share the capacity to detect the movements of nearby Pokemon to avoid attacks delivered by nearby friends, in turn possessing access to telepathy as a hidden ability. Second, they all share access to the unique Nature's Madness technique, which involves them unleashing the full power of nature in order to blast the opposition with a burst of Fairy Force energy that will always cut their current HP in half. Thirdly, and finally in conjunction with this, they all share access to the Z-Move Guardians of Alola, which works as a modified version of Nature's Madness that reduces an opponent to only a quarter of their current HP. Overall, while they might not be the friendliest towards humans or even care for the general lives of individuals, these Spirit Guardians are still powerful deities and will definitely do whatever it takes to keep the islands of the Alola region safe, no matter what the cost might be to its inhabitants.
Tapu Koko serves as the guardian land spirit for Melemele Island and shows a particular affinity for electricity, oftentimes summoning thunderstorms just to be struck and absorb the lightning that comes from them to fuel its powers, closing the shell around its body in the process.
Out of the 4 guardian land spirits, Tapu Koko is believed to be the closest to the Cosmog that had been born of Solgaleo and Lunala in ancient times, and is the only one that still interacts with humans on its home island on a regular basis, though oftentimes only in secret or through others who only see a glimpse of it as a tease. Tapu Koko is also the safest of the 4 guardians to interact with, as it does not hold any ill will towards the inhabitants of its island and instead enjoys battling with and playing pranks on others, though it has been known to become incredibly malevolent and attack others if a Pokemon or human puts it in a bad mood. Although Tapu Koko is a very fickle Pokemon and only appears near people and Pokemon that it finds entertaining or that its senses are destined for great things, even if it does get angry about something, it has short-term memory problems and will forget what made it angry an instant later. While it might not always come to the aid of people and Pokemon that are in desperate need of its help, the creature is not heartless and will oftentimes risk its own well-being to save others, even though few get the chance to properly thank it, as it moves so fast that the human eye can barely track it before it vanishes from sight. Tapu Koko is also highly curious and will actively play with people and Pokemon alike and even battle against them if they find them interesting, and it is not uncommon for it to leave gifts to those that it feels have great potential to build a connection between people and Pokemon, even going so far as to give the core components needed to make Z-Rings and Z-Power Rings to those it believes are worthy of such power. It might not be the easiest Pokemon to handle when in a bad mood, but Tapu Koko is a creature that genuinely cares for the people of Melemele Island, and it is thus not a surprise that the natives of the island have come to respect and revere it as a true guardian of the Alola region. As a result of its incredible electrical power, Tapu Koko is one of only 2 Pokemon able to possess the Electric Surge ability, which automatically applies electric terrain the moment it enters into battle, and is distinguished stat-wise from its brethren by the fact that it specializes in physical offense and speed, its base attack and speed stats being above average for a fully evolved electric and fairy-type Pokemon, though it also can take physical blows decently well, and in turn has an above average space defense stat for a fully evolved electric-type Pokemon.
Tapu Lele serves as the guardian land spirit for Akala Island and shows a particular affinity for psychic energy, drawing power from the fragrance given off by flowers in order to hone its mind and store psychic energy within its body. If the creature does not have much energy stored in its shell, it may lack the power it needs to seek victory in battle, and will therefore prioritize not losing a battle over actually beating its opponent, specializing in using status conditions to disrupt their actions.
Tapu Lele is worshipped as a healer by the people of Akala Island, and is said in legend to be able to cure the wounds and illnesses of others without a moment's hesitation. It can do this by scattering strange, powder-like scales as it flutters about that have the miraculous power to restore good health to anyone that comes into contact with them. These scales are thought to be a manifestation of the creature's psychic power, and therefore represents the internal energy that flows through its body, heightening the senses and clearing the mind in order to help people recover much more quickly from illness, and even beat the very worst of diseases when it seems like there is no hope. However, too much of a good thing can still be a problem, and it is no different with these scales. While coming into contact with a few of them might be good for one's health, the body cannot handle the changes brought on by contact with many of these scales, leading to the degradation of the immune system and even death. Tapu Lele is known to scatter these scales for its own amusement and completely devoid of guilt, and as such, some people despise it and see it as a creature of a cruel disposition that does this for fun despite the pain and death that its actions can sometimes cause, seemingly acting innocent to the consequences of said actions. This is nothing new, unfortunately, as well there is an old tale that says the creature once stopped the war between two of the islands in ancient times by scattering these scales over both sides to heal the soldiers. It is also quite possible that the war stopped because it scattered so many scales that it killed the soldiers on both sides. Not surprisingly, this has led many to describe it as nature incarnate, leaving it more despised and feared than respected in modern times. As a result of its incredible psychic power, this creature is one of only 2 Pokemon able to possess the Psychic Surge ability, which automatically applies psychic terrain the moment it enters into battle, and is distinguished stat-wise from its brethren by the fact that it specializes in special offense and defense, but is also rather quick on the draw, its base special attack, special defense, and speed stats being above average for a fully evolved Psychic and Fairy-type Pokemon.
Tapu Bulu serves as the guardian land spirit for Ula Ula Island, and shows a particular affinity for plant-based energy, using its miraculous powers to manipulate vegetation and make plants grow, which it then absorbs energy from as the plant is undergoing this growth. It can even do this to its own horns as they are made of wood, allowing it to change the length to deliver savage attacks in battle.
Tapu Bulu is worshipped as a bringer of abundance on its home island, and does serve this duty to some degree, as it does have the power to make plants grow on a whim. But it is also rather docile and even lazy about its duties in the eyes of some, as it rarely ever leaves its shrine and does not do much for the natives of its home island on a regular basis. In fact, on the rare occasions that it leaves to explore its territory, it will constantly make ringing sounds with its tail to let others know it is coming, as it prefers to avoid unneeded conflict. Even so, this creature is not to be underestimated in the slightest, as it is still extremely protective of wild Pokemon and violent enough to crush anything that it sees as an enemy, using its powers to cause plants to grow up and over its foes to immobilize them while it strikes at them with its horns. It is also said that in at least one case, thieves that tried to break into its shrine to steal valuable offerings to the creature were met with terrible force, as the beast uprooted a pair of trees and swung them at invaders like clubs to drive them off. Despite its incredible power and seemingly vicious temperament towards those that it does not like, Tapu Bulu does not like direct confrontation for the most part, and will often avoid starting battles if possible. It can do this by constantly ringing the bell on its body as a warning that it is present in an area, as noted already, alerting others to its presence so wild Pokemon are not frightened by its sudden appearance, though that does not mean that it will prove itself to be any less dangerous to those that it feels are threatening the safety of its home. As a result of its incredible plant-based powers, this creature is one of only 4 Pokemon able to possess the Grassy Surge ability, which automatically applies grassy terrain the moment it enters into battle, and is distinguished stat-wise from its brethren by the fact that it specializes in its physical stats the most, its base attack and defense stats being above average for a fully evolved grass and fairy-type Pokemon, but it also can take special hits decently well, having an above average base special defense stat for a fully evolved grass-type Pokemon.
Lastly, Tapu Fini serves as the guardian land spirit for Pony Island, and is shown to have a particular affinity for water, its power seemingly originating from the motion of waves along the coastline of Pony Island. It is able to use this power, as well as its ability to freely manipulate water, to drive away those that it deems to be unfit to stand in its presence, dealing swift justice to those that would dare to attack its home island.
Tapu Fini is renowned as a source of purification by the people of Pony Island, and is said to be able to use its unique powers in order to create a magical pure water that can clean the filthiness of mind, body, and soul from all those that partake of it. However, Tapu Fini does not give this water out for free, and in order to obtain it, those seeking it must pass through the fog that it can summon at whim through its unique water manipulation abilities. This is a problem because the fog has the effect of confusing others and inciting reactions of fear and panic, causing people to either attack each other as if in a fit of rage, or cause them to harm and even kill themselves if they cannot overcome the hallucinogenic effects of the fog, leading Tapu Fini to be both feared and revered by the inhabitants of its home island. Because in the past many people that were evil at heart tried to obtain this water, Tapu Fini has become disinterested in and disgusted by humans, preferring to inflict terrible calamities upon those who recklessly approach it, and making it perhaps the most reclusive land spirit in the entire Alola region. When this creature is confronted, though, it will actively protect itself from harm as much as possible and attack with a listless expression on its face at all times, which some have taken to mean that the moves that it uses are simply quite exhausting for it, though whether or not this is the truth remains to be seen. Regardless, Tapu Fini is a powerful deity that should be worshipped for its power, and even if one feels that they have a chance of getting a sample of its purifying water, only those of the greatest of resolve and willpower will be able to overcome its illusions and finally wash away the uncleanliness in the entirety of their being. As a result of its incredibly unique powers, this creature is one of only 2 Pokemon able to possess the Misty Surge ability, which automatically applies Misty Terrain the moment it enters into battle, and is distinguished stat-wise from its brethren by the fact that it specializes in its defensive stats the most, its base defense and special defense stats being above average for a fully evolved water and fairy-type Pokemon. But it also can hit back decently hard with special offense, having an above average base special attack stat for a fully evolved water-type Pokemon.
Looking at these powerful deities brings back so many memories of when I first met Hubby on Melemele Island years ago. And while I only might be acquainted with one of these legendary Pokemon as a result, there is no denying that each and every one of them has something to bring to the table that can make them distinct and a terror to behold if you get on the wrong side of them. Tapu Koko is by far the easiest to get along with, as it never seemed to give up on humanity and always knew that one day people would come back and realize that I was always among them, and the events that happened with the Aether Foundation and Necrozma more than showed that. Tapu Lele might look pretty, but their healing skills can be both a curse and a blessing to those exposed to them. They certainly might be able to cure terrible illnesses, but an overdose can easily do more harm than good, so I can understand why many are leery of going near the creature. Tapu Bulu is a stout, resilient figure that can more than put a stop to anyone that it feels has offended it, and while it usually is quite placid, it also tends to think and react like a wild animal in turn, which can make it hard to reason with once it has become enraged for any reason. And Tapu Fini is majestic and a creature of the sea more than most men realize, and while it certainly can provide healing on its own to those that seek it out, the trials it will put others through just to get the reward can sometimes be just too much to handle. Altogether, these legendary creatures guard the Alola region from threats the best that they can, and while only a select few may ever be graced by their presence, they are nonetheless worth revering and respecting for the work they do behind the scenes, even if it is today done more so for the Pokemon of the region than the humans that occupy it alongside them.
Rightfully revered in legend in the Alola region since the earliest days of civilization in the area, the members of the legendary guardian land spirits are mighty deities, more than worth respecting by locals and outsiders alike. You may be very unlikely to actually run into any of these creatures just out on a journey through the Alola region, but if you do, you would best be prepared to either fight for your life for the sake of survival, or to perhaps make a friend out of them.
Just do yourself a favor and make sure that you keep a good distance from them if you're not equipped to handle them. They might have differing personalities that require different strategies to confront, but they are all unified in that they'll gladly use the madness of nature's raw power to cut you down to size at a moment's notice before wiping the floor with you immediately afterwards.
Thank you for watching this video. It brings me great joy to be able to speak to you all in the world each and every time we meet like this, to explore the many different facets of both the world of Pokemon as we know it, and the world as we live it, through every adventure we have with Pokemon by our side. If you'd like to, please subscribe, ring the bell and all that jazz, to keep yourself updated on content uploads and other materials of the like. You can also follow me on Twitter if you'd like to know right away when something new is uploaded, and my written works, from which most of this is based on, can be found on DeviantArt. Links to both can be found in the description down below. Remember that the world of Pokemon is a place full of wonder and mystery, and you never know what to expect. So, stay vigilant, keep watch, and always be prepared for the unexpected. Until next time, trainers and friends of all sorts, have a wonderful time.